They're still here. The ghosts are still here. And I can't make them leave. They don't want to leave. It's like the Hotel California in this bitch, and I don't like it. I get it. It's Halloween. I got my spooky shirt on that I wear every week. Wacky shit's happening outside. A literal... I don't even know where this joke's going. There's ghosts. I'm not going to make jokes about that. There's freaking ghosts in my house, dude. You know, I told the RA and they said, oh, it's fine. There's no ghosts. There's no ghosts? There's no ghosts. There's no ghost. Yeah, no, there's ghosts, dude. Come in. Come look at the ghosts. Go look what they're doing to the mirror. Why are they doing that? Look, while I try to figure out the ghost situation, how about you just watch a wacky video? I would work on a segue better, but there's ghosts in my apartment. Live service games, or games as a service as we used to call them 4 months ago, are games that are either always online or are being constantly synced up to an online game coordinator that brings new content to the scene on a very regular basis. This isn't the sort of game where you can just put them down for 2 months and come back and find no changes. No, sir. They're supposed to be living, breathing game worlds brought to life by constant work from developers alongside a highly regular player base. And I don't really like them all that much. Not really that I don't like them, they just never clicked with me. And why is that? Well, we should probably break down why and figure out a way to include Destiny 2 in all this. Yeah, that'll work. Back on the 4th of October, I had Dan trying to show me the ropes to Destiny 2. See, I had the game since its launch on PC, and I spent actual human Earth money from this dimension on that game like some sort of maniac. I was mostly just interested in completing the campaign and being done with it. Dan said I should give it a shot, and that was the most I was going to do, for some reason. But regardless, I had no interest in the other varying game modes or public events or anything like that. Okay, so here's red flag number 1. Destiny 2 is an MMO. That sounds dumb saying that out loud like it's a surprise. But in my head, Destiny 2 was essentially Borderlands, but in between main story quests, a whole bunch of other people were running around, and side quests can be joined by just any passerby. But I'm not here for all the side activities. I kind of just want to complete the campaign, level up some, and then I'll discuss how I feel about my $40 investment in a backlog review. Hey, who misses the old backlog intro? Can we just run that intro? Oh, never mind. It's all free to play now. Oh, cool. My character's level progress was eaten, and now I'm max level, power level 750. Wait, so if every character is power 750 and the cap is 900, there's only 150 points between the weakest and strongest character. And, hold on, every single campaign mission is power 750 now, so the weapons you get at the start of the campaign can be used all the way to the end, so there's no reason to collect any loot at all. And cool, my campaign progress was eaten, so I have to start all over again. And cool, starting a totally new character actually gives me a bunch of stuff I never had on the character I created upon spending 40 smackaroos on the game. Okay. But even before this, what's the word for it? Oh, bullshit. But even before this bullshit, I had only put like 4 hours into the game. And other live service games and always online titles like the vast majority of Battle Royales, the Counter-Strike games, and similar shoot people don't die online PvP games, Grand Theft Auto Online, Warframe, those survival building things we all played in 2014, none of them really ever hooked me. This video is going to be a bit rambly, as I'm more or less just going to be looking at my own history with the always online world of games as a service, and I'm kind of just going to pin down mechanics or gestalts that just didn't hook me. In chronological order, so we get to start with Team Fortress 2 as my first experience with an online game. Well, actually no, that would have been a friend of mine who would play Call of Duty online when I came over to his place like 2008, 2009-ish, and even after that the first 2 online games I signed up for as a 12-year-old were Club Penguin and Roblox, but I had to quit the first one after my parents spent what they considered to be an insane amount of money on my membership. My dad spent 20 bucks. Rest in peace, Dad. That was not that much money in hindsight. And the latter one I was forbidden to play after just one day as the launcher was picked up as a Trojan by Norton. And I never wanted to go back, so that's nice. But Team Fortress 2 was perfect in that it both dodged around all my parents' worries in regards to me playing video games in 2011. It was a game I got to experience firsthand, and it was at the height of its popularity pretty soon thereafter. They thought it'd be more than able to handle some blood and violence and blowing people up. I mean, I was already flexing on them that I was better than them at Call of Duty Black Ops because we'd play at split screen with my older brother and my dad. And that was mostly just because it was the only game I'd get to play at that friend's house, so I just started getting better at it. TF2 was brand new to me in so many regards. It, Portal, and Half-Life 2 were my first PC FPSs. The first games that I ever played that I had to use WAS and D to control, though I picked it up very quickly, and the first games that I bought with my own money for my hand-me-down compact Presaria laptop. I couldn't run the games all that well. I couldn't run most of them at all. I was running DirectX 8 on all of those games and had the settings cranked all the way to low and still wasn't hitting 30 FPS. So I wasn't able to get far at all in Half-Life 2, and Portal's strict timing puzzles were unplayable. And while TF2 was also very laggy to the point of being unable to aim, there were some apps and servers that were much smaller. I could play on them just fine. Trade and idle servers pretty much only have one goal, and that's to dick around. I actually like that the fandom found a use for this engine as a means to chat with people. This is an interesting use of the technology, and it also let people trade hats and cosmetics with each other or just shoot the breeze, literally. And then my $35 investment suddenly became nothing because TF2 went free to play and I couldn't play the other games. So that was nice. So because TF2 was now free forever, I did what anyone in my situation would do. I shilled it to friends like a used car salesman. I roped 4 friends in total into giving the game a shot, and the 2 that continued to sink time into it actually auditioned to be parts of professional TF2 teams. That was neat, but that was also kind of the beginning of the end. See, these 2 friends, one of them was more interested in Sixers, and one was more interested in Highlander. I couldn't play with a Sixers friend because Pyro isn't part of the Sixers meta. My class of choice clashed with the 6 vs 6 meta that typically included 1 medic, 1 demo man, 2 soldiers, and 2 scouts. He didn't want me playing on the servers he was playing on unless we were trading or on an idle server. But the other friend was more into Highlander than Sixers, and he needed a backup Pyro for his team in case their main Pyro was out. So I was pressured into taking TF2 seriously. Mind you, this was about 2014 to 2015. I was doing more trading than ever, I was playing man vs machine when I could, and I was doing all of this on a brand new computer I acquired in April of 2014 as an early birthday present. I fried the compact is what I'm saying. I fried the compact. And I lost almost every single video from when I opened my YouTube channel, so it's just all gone. And between when that computer died and when I got the new desktop, that span of 2 years or so, I was going over weekly to the Sixers friend and borrowing his computer for an evening and then going home the next morning. But anyways, Highlander friend was all for taking our recreational TF2 time and making it time to sharpen my skills. He was already a damn fine medic, the rest of the team was pretty shipshape, but there was this casual blight on the whole team that needed to be ironed out. Suddenly, my recreational activity of just wandering around charade servers became about hit registration, anticipating enemies, leading my shots, and trying really, really hard to convince me to use the degreaser and extinguisher meta instead of the bot killer flamethrower I had traded for. Now you might have asked yourself a few minutes ago, wait, you were a pyro main on just screw around servers and my phone's ringing? How did that work? Hear that constant ringing in the background? Yeah, that's what it sounds like when you light a whole bunch of things on fire as pyro. That's honestly the number one reason I picked up pyro as much as I did. That is delicious sound. But I was being whipped into shape to take the game seriously. We were making plans to practice with the rest of the team a couple weeks out. I was playing maybe 20 hours a week of just pyro, maybe working on environmental awareness and being able to efficiently check for spies. Maybe I was having to train myself to consistently lead shots with a flare gun and go for crits. Maybe it'd just be about being able to ambush enemies and reflect their crocket back for an air blast kill. But the fun thing I discovered back 3 or 4 years ago was more or less gone. And then the entire team fell apart, probably because we were just high school kids and we had no way to be able to consistently secure a time slot to practice, let alone play against any team, especially with anywhere between 9 to 18 people in a pre-Discord world. So now I had all this pyro experience for nothing. I was conditioned to play the game entirely differently in such a short span of time for next to nothing. My heart wasn't in competitive play. I felt like an outcast in the trading world when I had such a hard time hanging on to metal and items my friends both had unusuals, and one of them had multiples, and one of them had a hat of undeniable wealth and respect. He named it Jeffrey, I think? I don't know. Multiplayer PvP shooters were kind of just burning me out at this point. Well, maybe this new Overwatch thing can help me find my bear. That's a good joke. We're gonna get back to Overwatch. Ooh. So I burned myself out on PvP, but what about PvE? Oh yeah, that thing. I played 25 hours of this game just for Let's Talk About Payday 2. And even outside of that, I easily put 400 to 500 hours into just this one game working on those videos alone. By the end of it all, joining a team of randos and fighting waves of enemies just got tiresome. The game ended on a decent note. They said it'd be 4 years until a sequel, and that was that. And then it wasn't. Oops. Here's a pro tip for aspiring video creators. Pick a game that if you had to put 500 hours a year into it outside of your own enjoyment, you would be willing to. Not just able to, you would be willing to. Also, no matter what you pick, you'll have people accost you for answers on Big Iron meme videos nearly half a year later, so just keep that in mind. Also, it's never truly over, unfortunately. What's happening over there, guys? What's going on? So if burnout is mostly why I don't like playing these sorts of always online games, what is it that keeps me from giving even new ones a fair shot, games entirely outside of this wheelhouse? Well, I think my entire opinion on live service games can be summed up thusly. This is a black hole, and for literal days, this is all Fortnite was. This is the funniest thing to me, but not funny in the same way a joke from a loved one is funny. Think more a clown car getting torn through by a speeding train. Sure, it's funny, but it hurts to laugh at. From the 13th until the 15th, Fortnite's map was destroyed in a black hole, and logging in just treated players to ominous ambient music and a black screen, occasionally some numbers. The game was online only, so there was no offline mode to speak of, but even then, you couldn't access your inventory, change your stats, even look at your settings. It was just this. For 3 days. The game came back, and the whole stunt was an excuse to update some of the core mechanics in the server and make a big change to the overworld. But the fact that the developers can just hit the power button to their game and just walk away is so hilariously stupid to me. Now, more than ever, we're keenly aware of game preservation, and more specifically, the fact that so many games have just been lost to time. The Satellaview broadcasts, PT, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And to see that it's just getting harder and harder to hold on to games is harrowing to say the least. So when a company comes up to their devoted audience and shows them they've got a big red nuke button, they can just shut down the whole thing and walk away, and they can do it for whatever reason they want, whether it's a publicity stunt or just for funsies, yeah, I kind of squirm in my seat at that thought. Games need to be preserved, and companies, for some reason, are dead set on making sure we can't do that. But why, though? Tim, what do you get by showing the world you can just eclipse canon Fortnite? Does it make you feel big, Tim? Like a big, strong man? Look at me. I've come to make a notice, but player unknown is a bip. Get the fuck out of here, Tim. Even outside of that, so many live service games are just regular games I can get anywhere else. But they're always online and always changing. Destiny 2 is a shooter-looter, or looter-shooter? One of the two. With PvP mechanics, but if you never play Gambit or Crucible, you're just playing MMO Borderlands. The Elder Scrolls Online is just MMO Skyrim, literally. Fortnite, I just start slapping buttons on a calculator and it just brings up an image of Minecraft Hunger Games. I think something might be up with that. And if I already have those games and don't really play games for the social aspect anymore, then why would I go for a live service version? I can pick up Skyrim after 4 years and the game is still just as I left it. Broken mods and a lack of the DLC and all. But if I put down Destiny 2 or Fortnite for even a 12th of that time, who's to say it'll even be remotely similar to how I left it? Who's to say it'll even be there when I come back? Why would I get attached to a game that if I take a short break to play something else, it'll be totally different when I return, especially when the offline, pay once, play forever game lets me not just take a break, but flat out go years between playthroughs, and the biggest problem becomes my mods are outdated and I forgot what I was doing. And even past that, so many of these games are trying to be everything at once. It's a campaign shooter, it's a co-op loot grinder, PvP, PvE, MOBA, procedurally generated quests and community events, big sweeping map changes that mix up what to expect, and at the heart of it, it just makes the game feel cluttered. Here's a game for you. It's very simple. They lied, but let's give it a shot. I want you to explain to me the core mechanical verbs of Grand Theft Auto Online. What specific actions is a player doing when they play? If I asked you to pick, say, 3 from that list, then we compare them with 3 that several other people pick, there's going to be a lot of ground covered. One player might be in it for the heists and gunfights, so they'll have shooting, stealing, crashing. And another might only play races, so they've got drifting, accelerating, braking. A third might only indulge in custom game modes with friends, so now it's running, gunning, and chatting. And a fourth, Honestly, they might just be playing GTA as a golf and tennis game. You can do it. You can just play GTA as a golf game, as a tennis game, as a stock market simulator. There's all of this junk just stapled to it. Let's compare this, though, to Far Cry. Both are open world simulators of a sort, and when you peel the layers back and you're just talking mechanical verbs, you find that they share a lot of things in common, but there's a very particular gestalt within Far Cry. Players obtain a vehicle, drive to a point, clear it out, and along the way get distracted and go hunting. But that's about it. And it's roughly the same experience no matter who you ask. It's not trying to be everything at once. You're braving the wilderness, making it to an encampment, clearing out that encampment, whether that just means freeing people, killing people, or breaking radio box things. And then you move on to the next objective. I think at the heart of it is I might just be a bit too keen about game design. I'm a fan of games that have a few mechanics but do them well, a fan of tightly designed dioramas of a living world I can explore and navigate through. Games like Half-Life 1, New Vegas, the Coin Game, Borderlands, and even at the more extreme end of the curve, Minecraft might be an open world game with tons of sandbox potential, but I get to take a chunk of that generally samey map and shape it into something of my own design, and it'll still be there when I come back. Player to player, Minecraft isn't terribly different in terms of what you do, unless you scope out people on the absolute fringes making massive adventure maps or redstone computers with functional RAM? Wild. Who are you people? But as a result, I'm in the game for a small handful of activities, and if I need to put the game down, as I often do, I want them to be there when I come back. If I'm playing Borderlands 2, it's to take a character I haven't played before, run him through the campaign, kill Handsome Jack dead, maybe collect some rare loot along the way to stick in the secret stash for the next playthrough, maybe play 1 or 2 DLCs, but that's about it. If I'm playing Minecraft, I'm going to collect resources to spend on making a massive homestead and surrounding it in all sorts of mega projects. When I'm playing Skyrim, I'll be a Khajiit because kitties, and I'm going to find just like one skill to work on as I explore a bunch of dungeons. My current playthrough is potions. I thought they were very underpowered, but now I'm making ridiculous cure-alls I can sell off to Bellathor for an arm and a leg. And when I played Destiny 2, I wanted to play through the campaign because that's what I do with FPSs. And when it gets cluttered up with all sorts of side activities that just seem pointless, when the game takes that progress away from me and completely flattens the level grind, it's hard to keep going. That all too familiar burnout sets in so quickly. Because you're surrounded by activities and objectives when you're just after one. It's like Sam's Club. I'm in there for a small handful of specific things, and I keep getting accosted to try this and that and sign up for a new cable provider and install gutters and solar panels and convert to Jesus. But now I drive past the withered husk of the place when I go home on weekends and I think, man, I'm glad that's closed, even though I miss the small handful of things I used to go in there for. Do I occasionally get into a PvP kick? Sure, every couple months, but it's very short, like half an hour, and I'd rather just boot up TF2 and play through a round of Upward or Gorge than try to pull myself through some MMO or square off with 100 people yelling at me over a microphone. In Team Fortress 2, half the server at any given time is in a quantum state of both not congaing, but ready and willing to conga. So stakes are incredibly low and it's easy not to take it seriously. A loss is whatever. The competitive scene in TF2 isn't trying to run people through the ringer anymore, and if it is doing that, it's almost entirely a product of your own design. The ranked badges aren't some mad scramble to kick people down and rage against the world for your silver badge, and there's no pressure to try and turn every single player into a future esports star. Hell, that's pretty much impossible to do when you work down to the brass tacks, but the modern online scene keeps pushing esports more and more. So many colleges and now even high schools have esports teams. It's the usual suspects: Rocket League, Overwatch, Dota, Smite, Fortnite, PlayerUnknown, Counter-Strike, League of Legends, the list goes on. And if you play even one of those games, you will inevitably get the comment, "Hey, you ever think about going pro?" And then when you say no like a normal, rational human being who plays games to enjoy them, you'll have to sit through this spiel about how much money it's worth, how you'll be paid big bucks to play video games, how these companies will provide you with a $3,000 rig and a fancy chair and a headset and a monitor and all this and that, how you're already playing the game as it is, you should really consider taking it seriously. I would know because I've had these conversations several times with seedy people who had live service esport titles, sink their teeth into them, and refuse to let go. But TF2, for better or for worse, has an entirely dormant esports scene in the grand scheme of things. The game seems perfectly designed for the task, but yet prize pools are pathetic, official tournaments are often just a single blog post, a Twitch link, and the reward at the end is a purely cosmetic badge to stick in your inventory. None of these tournaments are funded by a battle pass here. Ooh, I forgot to talk about that part. So I buy a game for 40 bucks. I play through it, and if it's worth my time, I might buy some DLC to play through a new campaign. That is, if I didn't buy the game to play it with friends, as was the case with Left 4 Dead, Borderlands, and Payday, but I digress. I pay for it once, maybe pick up some DLC when that goes on sale or is otherwise sufficiently cheap enough, and if I get really suckered in, I might opt for some cosmetic stuff, but that's only ever happened twice. And one of them was my first PC FPS, and another somehow still drives nearly 40% of my week-to-week traffic, even though it's been almost 5 months since I stopped playing. That's all to say, I don't spend money on a game unless I really, really like it. If I don't like the game, I'm not spending any more money. Did Overwatch have some decent cosmetics? Sure, a couple. Did I ever spend a dime more on the game to get one? Nope. Fallout 4 has got some neat mods, right? Want to buy some Creation Club credit? No thanks, this game's jank as hell, and being able to fight some centaurs after spending $6 won't make me forgive the dodgy combat, performance, exploration, and miserable writing. Got some squares? You want more squares? No, you've done a bad job at explaining why I should even want to pick up loot in your shooter, looter, shooter thing, since it's all the same level. So purchasing microtransaction credit seems pointless, stupid, disgusting, stupid, and an absolute waste of my money. And also, above all, stupid, like really stupid, pants on head stupid. Purchasing 2 boxes of latex gloves because they're left-handed and right-handed gloves stupid. Like enjoying stupid. But I digress. I'm not spending extra money if I think it'll make me like the game more. If I already liked the game, I would spend the money. And if I didn't like the game, I'm not going to spend the money. I already spent the money with Fallout 4 and it didn't work out. And I did the same with Raid World War II and guess what? That also didn't work out. Special Edition wasn't worth it. Gold M1 Garand? Okay. Wait, you mean spending more money on a game doesn't make it better? You mean it can often harm the quality of the underlying game? Yeah, what do you know? You might have a perfectly fine game for 40 bucks, but for 60, some of that extra stuff only really is interesting to a specific niche. New Game Plus, or a motorcycle, or a new campaign where Nathan Fillion, Nolan North dies, or being able to go back to Morrowind and fight a guy in a mask. This sort of stuff only appeals to a certain crowd. And if you're in an arms race to collect all the DLC for a game, chances are you probably won't actually play most, if not all of it. Here's a $1 million question for you. How many games have you beaten all of its DLCs in? For me, that number is a resounding 1. I played each Payday 2 paid DLC heist at least once. And now that Border Crossing is coming out, I can't even say that anymore. But those are 20-minute missions. Fallout 3, New Vegas 4, Borderlands? I play maybe 1 or 2 DLCs, but not all of them. So all this extra content, a lot of which is in games I actually like, goes to waste. The season pass is mostly to blame. If you got into a game late, you could buy up all of the content dirt cheap. And for the cost of 1 or 2 DLCs, I could have them all. Might as well. I play like just barely enough to break even, but I sure as hell have not played all of it. But this is getting harder and harder to justify as we step away from the season pass. If the base game is interesting, but I need to buy DLC at full price, I won't. Not unless I have a very, very good reason to buy that content. Vampires don't interest me, a relatively obscure British comedy act in the 80s doesn't interest me. And the last time a video game really tried to get me excited about the moon, David Tennant got involved like 4 years later and it was just a mess. Such a mess. If I can buy the DLCs in-game, but the slow grind for premium currency is meant to make me spend the money anyways, surprise, I'm not gonna buy it. The base game is usually more than enough content if I tried to 100% it. And that's going to be way more time and energy than 100%ing a game even 15 years old that cost the same price. Not quite 15 years old, but Super Mario 64's 100% run can be done in about 2 hours. And that game cost $60 at launch. Pricing on games has mostly stayed the same, but the amount of content on offer has exploded to the point where the best time for just completing the 16 Daedric quests in Skyrim is longer than completing all of Mario 64. And that's a single quest line in a game with at least 6 quest lines, hundreds of side quests, 2 more pieces of DLC with even more main quests, and that game's also got infinite quests, and we're seeing that everywhere in games. The Witcher 3's main campaign with no side content clocks in at about 50 hours, Red Dead 2 was 45. The number of games that can be beaten by casual players in under 8 hours these days that are not indie titles could probably be counted on one hand, and most of them are not going to be good. So we're playing more, and we're getting extra paid content slung every which way. And devs are smart. They have to be, so a lot of that content gets disguised. Paid cosmetics, battle passes, the Manco crate system, those are all easy ways to trick people into paying more for a game, especially a free title. Look at all those cosmetic items you're missing out on, man. Wouldn't it be cool if you just spent $2? I mean, it's only $2. And then you pull the trigger and purchase the Fortnite Deep Dab, and then they try to trick you again into spending another $2, and another, until you end up with an average revenue per user of $58 for a game that's free. This sort of scheme makes me sick, and it's just gotten worse. You used to just delete Manco crates and that was that. But now these games pressure people into spending money, make it hard to progress without spending money, and build a psychological cycle of revenue abuse that gives kids the trademark traits of a gambling addiction. Governments doing what they can to swing the hammer at these sorts of activities are doing a saint's work, because there's an entire generation of gamers who don't understand the appeal of spending all the money up front and getting a single static object. The idea that I can put down Borderlands, play the Goose Game for a couple days, replay Ape Out, both without spending any extra dime, and then come right back and I've missed nothing and I don't need to spend any extra money to catch up with my friends, is alien to an entire demographic. The idea of just buying a game up front and never paying again is alien to a lot of people. The mobile market, for better or for worse, is to blame in the tactics used here to turn a profit. In a market where $2 for Angry Birds looked insane, it's now being used in a world where we're already paying $200 for the SpongeBob Collector's Edition. Like, I don't know how much extra revenue you're gonna squeeze out of these kids. And what do you get out of it? A game. It might be a massive amount of land to cover and I might be able to slap my friends in real time across the world, but it's still a game nonetheless. A game that generally does the same thing games I already own and still enjoy would do. A game that if I put it down due to burnout or disinterest or to continue another game, when I come back, I'll just be lost all over again. Yet at the same time, if I only play this game, I'm just going to fatigue myself even harder. So why bother? I feel alienated in the current game space, which is probably why I've clung so heavily to older titles. The likes of Doom, Half-Life, and now games like Parodius, Gone Home, Untitled Goose Game. They let me buy the game once for a reasonable price, and then I play them, and that's it. No fear of missing out. No bullshit. If I like the game enough to buy more content, I might spring for the season pass later down the road, but we're talking long after support ends. I really can't bring myself to keep up with an ever-changing game, and my life's already ever-changing. I don't feel good about spending a couple bucks a day on cosmetics when I'm suddenly thrust into having to figure out my own health insurance and phone bill. I don't want to buy a battle pass only for it to expire in 2 months when I have no idea if I'll even be interested in the game in a week after the pass launches. All of this to say, look, what do you want? How much do you get paid to be ghosts? Nothing? Does your ghost boss make all the money? Y'all should join a ghost union, honestly. Go to the local 1031, they'll help you get the ghosted benefits you deserve. The bourgeoisie can't just take your labor like that without compensation. Your local 1031 will get that squared away. I promise. And just like that, the ghosts are gone? The only problem is now, all these ghosts are on strike. That really shouldn't affect me though, unless I'm a ghost, at which point I also have to go on strike, otherwise I'm a scab and nobody likes a scab. Luckily I'm alive though, I'm not a ghost. Right? Oh no, never mind. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, I'd recommend subscribing. Patreon and social media links are in the description.